months, we thought that was important for us to share this. And also, as there was some small additions and changes in the Provide dashboard, we thought that was also important for us to highlight to you. The plan for the session, you already know the main topics with Leonidas, the impact of repository metadata quality on the use of value-added service. I think this is important. This is just a small highlight from Leonidas. And then the new graph, the new OpenAIRE Graph APIs, and what are the implications, let's say, for the institutions that are consuming data from the graph. Of course, you are a provider of the content, but it's also for us it's critical that the providers understand what people can do consuming the graph as the content of your data source is available through the graph. This is our idea for today. Just in 5-6 minutes, with Andre, we will highlight some of the recent news. So about the recent news, the index and the status, the stats update. So be aware that what we have available now is the content indexed on the 28th of January. We are aware that in the coming days, we will release the new update. So usually we always try to do it at the end of the month. So we are following all the details, and we are aware that in the coming days, if not this week, for sure, early next week, you will see the new content, and those that are receiving notifications, for example, from the broker will receive notifications, and then you will see new content aggregated by OpenAIRE available in the different services, and of course available in Explore. We have a new, so help desk is always available, be aware of that. So we have you can always contact us via helpdesk at openair.eu for any doubt that you have or question. Something that is new and we would like you to start using. We know that those that are contributing with content, usually you say that in your services web pages or in your repository, in the footer, in a specific widget area from your data source, you have the badge of OpenAIRE. Usually people use the logo of OpenAIRE, but we are aware of several people using the old logo, not the new. Several people using a badge, a validated badge that we presented a long time ago. So now we are trying to push a bit for people to do an update on this, and this is why we created an updated version of this version of the logo. Okay, Andre will explain to you where you can find it in the Provide service, but be aware of this new validated badge where you see OpenAIRE indexed and validated. You can have access to this logo, and just be aware that you can download it and put it in your source. Okay, be aware of that. Andre,
Okay.
maybe it's better for you to explain where people can find it, because I'm not
Okay.
able to see. Okay.
So now I'm sharing our repository dashboard in the OpenAIRE Provide service. So first you need to log into OpenAIRE Provide. And then if you have a registered data source and validated data source by the OpenAIRE aggregation team, you will find now in the top right corner of your page the logo, the new validated logo. So it's just this, you need to log in to the OpenAIRE Provide, and then you will find the new logo in top right corner. And if you pass your mouse over this icon to download the image, you can see that we have 4 options to download the badge. So you can download in 4 distinct formats: in PNG, JPEG, SVG, and PDF. Okay, for example, if I select the PNG, option, I will start downloading the logo. Okay, so and then you can download the logo and, as Pedro said, reuse it in your data source page, for example, in the footer, just to inform the community that your repository or journal is registered in OpenAIRE and is being indexed by OpenAIRE, and and that is compatible with the OpenAIRE guidelines. So it's very easy to access. So, and you can, during this meeting or after the meeting, you can start checking if you can access, but it's just a matter to log into OpenAIRE Provide, and then you can access it. If you have some question or doubt, please feel free. And the rule, I will switch again to the slides. The rule is this badge is only exposed to managers that have registered a data source here in OpenAIRE, and the data source was validated by the aggregation team. Okay, so imagine that some of you are new here on this meeting, and you will register a new data source. Only when OpenAIRE team validates your data source, then you will have access to this badge.
Perfect. Thank you, Andre. So maybe we can. So I'm already connected with the mobile phone, so we can move to the next topic. Just to highlight after this novelty, please, and you can also share the. I'm not sure if you already did share the link to the news item. Maybe we can do it later. We can put the news item.
We can share.
Presenting this new validated logo, this new validated badge for you. We can put there in the. Feel free to start using it. We want to disseminate this as soon as possible, and we are for sure we are going to contact several of you about this, and we are aware of some people that are using also old versions of the OpenAIRE logo. So this is why we also want to fix this. Okay. There are several questions that we receive also about the aggregation process of OpenAIRE. So Andre will explain to us just in 1 or 2 minutes some important information from what we have in the dashboard.
Yes, and in practice, just to highlight this functionality that allows you to follow how OpenAIRE is aggregating your data source content. And we would like to highlight and remind for this option. You can find this option in the aggregation history menu of your data source dashboard in OpenAIRE Provide. And I would like to start with this highlight for the indexed version that in practice is the aggregated version that OpenAIRE is taking into account to publish your data source contents into public portals, for example, in OpenAIRE Explorer or in OpenAIRE Monitor. Okay, and with this indexed version box here in the top of the page of the aggregation history, you can confirm which is the version. For example, here we can see that for taking into account this example, the contents that are publicly visible are from November. And you can see also the number of records that OpenAIRE collected for this specific data source. Okay, and we can see also what is the indexed version, also looking to this label in the historic of the aggregation. I will show also our example in the dashboard. So I'm switching now to our repository dashboard, and if we go to the aggregation history menu, so we can see here the box, this highlight for the indexed version, and if I go below, I can find also this label, indexed version. Is the same information as we have in the top of this page. So we have 2 ways to identify which version is published in the public portals. Another highlight is also the details for each aggregation stage that OpenAIRE is performing for your data source. And in practice, we have two aggregation stages. The first is collect, and then the transform. In practice, the collect stage is when OpenAIRE is accessing your repository metadata and collects the metadata to OpenAIRE. And then OpenAIRE will transform this metadata information according to the OpenAIRE guidelines. And this way, for example, following this example, we can see here the box below aggregation stage informing that is the collect stage. The collection mode that was in refresh mode, the number of records collected, and the status of this stage, informing that is completed successfully. Okay, because we have here the true value. And then after the collect stage, we have the transform stage. So the number of records that were transformed according to the OpenAIRE guidelines and also the information that this stage was completed successfully. Okay, I will move now again to our dashboard. So you can see all the historic. Here we can see the most recent interactions. Okay, for example, again the collect stage and the transform stage. And if you go below, we have also a button here to see more results. And if we click here, if you want to have an overview of all the aggregations made by OpenAIRE, you can see this table with more, let's say more interactions, okay, from the previous years. And you can check also the number of records to understand if this number of records are correct, let's say, comparing with the number of records you have in your repository. And imagine that this number of records are very low comparing to the number of records you have in your data source. So if this happens, you need to check if you are exposing the metadata correctly according to the OpenAIRE guidelines, and if you don't understand why, about this discrepancy of numbers, you can contact the OpenAIRE aggregation team via the OpenAIRE help desk to try to identify what are the reasons to the difference of numbers being collected and transformed. Okay, and also let me go back to another page. If you have some doubts about what is the transformation stage or the collect stage or the collection mode, because we have two collection modes, the refresh and the incremental, you can find the detailed information on the right side of the page. Okay, this area here is explaining all of these details of the aggregation history. So just to conclude, it's also important for you to sometimes or every month or every 2 months is to go here and to check if the aggregation of your data source is ongoing and if the numbers are as expected.
Great. These explanations maybe are not useful for some of you, but I suppose are useful for others because usually we have these doubts in our help desk system. So I think it was an important explanation from Madeleine. Let's move to Leonidas. Okay. I think we also want to use like 10 minutes here for some highlights about the depending on the metadata quality that you are providing to OpenAIRE, the usability of some of our services is different. So this, and we also receive some doubts about that. There are people in different meetings that also need clarification and ask us several questions about this. So Leonidas will try to make clear from the portfolio of services that we have which are the differences depending on the quality of the metadata that we have, and the differences that we from what we can provide to you, based on the fact that you are providing content to OpenAIRE. Leonidas, feel free, and thank you for being able to do this presentation after you run from another meeting to this one.
Indeed. Thank you, Pedro. Thank you very much. Okay, as Pedro mentioned, I will go through 5 or 6 slides highlighting the importance of having rich metadata, populating the metadata according to the OpenAIRE guidelines as much as possible, and how will this be of more benefit for your repository and also for your organization. And I will go through a small, let me say, indicative research outputs, publications from OpenAIRE Explore to showcase mostly the one aspect, one or two aspects regarding the linking among publications, among research between research outputs, and also the funding information. So, first of all, why being compliant with the latest version of the OpenAIRE guidelines matters? It's the backbone of a fully interoperable open science ecosystem. We will ensure that your metadata are harmonized, discovered, and usable across multiple research infrastructures. You will gain improvement on machine actionable metadata, increasing fairness, of course. And without structured metadata, your research outputs may remain undiscoverable. I put here a slide with the workflow of being aggregated and incorporated into the OpenAIRE graph. I will say only on the first part, where all the respective data sources and from open access journals, repositories, CRIS, large catalogs need to comply with the OpenAIRE guidelines and be incorporated into the OpenAIRE graph. And from the data that we have, also from the authoritative data sources in OpenAIRE graph, we provide a comprehensive dataset that can be used for many services. Of course, we use it for the services that we provide in OpenAIRE, but you can also use the OpenAIRE graph via its APIs or via the dump that we offer, also for your benefits to your services. So, regarding the latest OpenAIRE guidelines, version 3 and version 4, we have enhanced metadata fields regarding funding information, affiliations, regarding relations among publications and datasets. We have alignment with global metadata standards. We are mostly aligned and use the DataCite metadata standard. And we also have the Serif metadata standard for the CRIS platforms. And we also aggregate from the version 3 of the OpenAIRE guidelines via the Dublin core. We have the adoption of control vocabularies, specifically the core control vocabularies for the resource types and access rights. And of course, the latest version of the OpenAIRE guidelines, as I have already mentioned, offer improved linking between research outputs and projects. So, which and why do I have to populate my metadata records of my repository with more elements? Richer metadata equals better visibility and impact. The more metadata fields you populate, the better your research outputs are indexed, linked, and discovered. We have, of course, the persistent identifier from DOIs of the persistent identifier of the research output to the ORCID ID in order to track research recognition. We have the funding information with links from research outputs to funded dashboards to projects. We have the access rights fields that ensure proper classification and discovery and monitoring. And of course, we have the relations among dataset software and publications. And you unlock, by populating as many fields as possible, you unlock the full potential of the OpenAIRE graph. Of course, I must state here that it's important to populate the mandatory fields on each version of the guidelines you are compatible, because if mandatory fields are not populated or are not correctly populated, then the metadata records will not be harvested and ingested into the OpenAIRE graph. And of course, we are here to assist you, and we always inform you regarding the compatibility and where you might have errors that you should address. Consequences of poor metadata practices. The research outputs become harder to discover. We have poor linking between publication datasets and software. And of course, organizations miss out on funding and open access compliance tracking. And this is mostly on organizations that use the monitoring services and also use the OpenAIRE monitor service on assessing and evaluating and monitoring their research output. Regarding the benefits, you have increased research visibility, more qualitative and accurate indicators in OpenAIRE Monitor, if your organization has a dashboard there, or if your country has a national monitoring system, such as the National Open Access Monitor of Ireland, that has been published for the last year. And we have several use cases there that we are going to present in next community calls with organizations and repositories where we worked with the compatibility, and of course, enhanced collaboration and data reuse. So let me go through a few examples just to showcase, first of all, the linking between publications and datasets or software. I will use the discovery service, the OpenAIRE Explorer, which is more visible regarding this case, and in a future community call where we are going to incorporate such indicators into the OpenAIRE monitor, we are going to have another session presenting also there the differences that you will encounter. Here you can see the publication. The specific one comes from Zenodo, which has a very rich metadata representation. And we can see in the related research, we can see the research software that is related to the specific publication. Another example is here, where we have the relations of the datasets and also the publication, another publication. And these are all harvested, and also we have the typing of a relation is supplemented by. And let me also go through, yes, 2 or 3 examples where we can see the funded by information, where you populate the funding information into the metadata, into your metadata record, where you can see this information exactly at the discovery service. You can see the project that funded the respective publication. And one more example with the same funding information, where we can see here the publication, which is funded by a specific project from the European Commission, and I will also showcase the metadata that come from the repository. They are OpenAIRE version 4 compliant, where we have the funder name, the funder identifier type, and also the funding stream, and the award number. These are explicitly stated into the OpenAIRE guidelines on how to populate them. We are here, of course, to assist you in each step of the process. So, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Leonidas. So feel free to place questions in the chat, so we will reply them. So at the end, after Thanos' presentation, you can open the microphone and put questions for all our parts. But if you want to make a question, so maybe Leonidas can in fact reply in the chat. So the next topic that we also thought to present was about the OpenAIRE Research Graph. You are contributing with content to the OpenAIRE Research Graph, and others or your organizations are consuming also or also the possibility to consume the content from the graph. So our idea is always to you as a provider be aware of what are the changes in our APIs in order for others to consume our data that is in fact our data with your contribution. So Thanasis, thank you for joining also. So we already presenting the agenda in the beginning, so what you are going to talk about, so feel free, the floor is yours. And also the idea here is to make sure that everyone that is part of OpenAIRE contributing in content is aware of the recent changes in the from the new OpenAIRE Graph APIs. So Thanasis, feel free.
Okay, thanks, Pedro. I hope that you can hear me well and
Very well.
that you can see my screen.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So thank you, thank all of you for the interest on the OpenAIRE graph and the various developments that we are presenting. I will inform you very briefly about the new OpenAIRE Graph API. First of all, for those that do not know me, I am Tanas Bergoulis, Chief Data Scientist of OpenAIRE. So let me explain the previous situation, what was in place before the new APIs. As you know, OpenAIRE is harvesting data for a large amount of onboarded data sources, repositories, publishers, journals, aggregators, and so on through Provide, but also OpenAIRE is aggregating data from different important scholarly metadata sources, like, for instance, Microsoft Academic Graph, ORCID, Crossref, DataCite, and so on. Using all these sources, OpenAIRE is building a knowledge graph, one of the largest scholarly knowledge graphs out there, containing information related to research products, which means publications, datasets, software, and other types of research outputs, but also about other research-related entities and actors like persons, organizations, communities, grants, and data sources. And the graph contains metadata about all these and about the relationships among them. And these kind of metadata are available through APIs and datasets to everyone. This is an open resource consisting of open datasets and open APIs. Most of the OpenAIRE services are based on those data under the hood. But of course, we also have various third parties that are relying on those data to provide useful services to their end users. And speaking of the APIs, the most important API that was in place in the past to expose the contents of this vast scholarly knowledge graph was the search API, the OpenAIRE search API. And this API was good. As I said, it was used by the OpenAIRE service, but also by third parties. But there were some shortcomings, some drawbacks with this API. First of all, the native responses were in XML, while what we have learned from our end users and developers that are trying to use the API, JSON format is more convenient for them. JSON was indeed provided even from the search API, but the JSON that was produced was based on an automatic transformation of the XML native response to the JSON format. And because of that, the JSON was not easy to handle. It was not the most clean JSON that you could have about the respective metadata, something that was creating various difficulties in parsing those data. And of course, although this search API was providing various endpoints and was supporting different parameters and field names, those were not always completely aligned with the terminology and the nomenclature of the graph data model, something that was creating confusion to our end users, especially those that were experimenting both with the APIs but also with the datasets. And it was also creating many difficulties in trying to provide documentation for this API. And finally, there were some missing features that were very interesting, like some useful endpoints that we didn't have, or some filtering options that could be handy to have, but were not provided. So all this highlighted the need for the creation of a new improved Graph API that will serve our end users providing JSON responses, simplified ones that are easy to consume by scripts and also easy to understand by humans. We also aimed to enhance the compatibility of the API parameters, endpoints, and responses with the graph data model. We already have the graph data model well documented on the graph documentation website. So if we manage to have the APIs compatible to that, then the same documentation will be very informative also for those that were interested to understand the details related to the different fields and endpoints and parameters of the API. We tried to put the focus on documentation. We created a dedicated section in the graph documentation that is providing more information, is elaborating on the technical aspects related to the Graph API. And on top of that, we are also providing a Swagger UI that you can use to play with this API and test it in practice with simple scenarios before building something more powerful based on the same API. And of course, we try to provide new endpoints, new parameters and fields to improve the functionalities that we already had for the existing endpoints and parameters. Very quickly, just to indicate new functionalities that are important. There is a simplified endpoint for the research projects In the past, in the search API, we had multiple endpoints, one for each type of research product, while now the type of the research product is just one parameter that you can find in this endpoint that covers all research products. We have created additional endpoints for organizations and data sources that did not exist before. So it's now possible for people to search based on this kind of queries. And we improved the search functionalities for the research products themselves. For instance, something that was not possible with the search API was to search research products based on the organization that is affiliated with those research products, and this is something that now can be done. And finally, we have implemented a cursor pagination mechanism that can be used for easy access of the contents of the responses of to the response of particular query. Until now, the API was limited due to performance issues to provide up to 10,000 results for each query. And now, with the cursor implementation, it is possible for someone to get more. And something that we plan to release very soon is a couple of additional endpoints to support the retrieval of relationships among those entities. For instance, to retrieve citations between publications or between publications and datasets, but also other types of relationships, not only those. This is something that was not supported by the Search API, and it is not supported right now by the new Graph API, but will be featured very soon, maybe in the coming weeks. But even now, it is possible to get this kind of relationships like citations from the Scholar Explorer API. This is another API that is provided by OpenAIRE. It is focusing on relationships, and it has been also updated very recently to provide all types of relationships that are included in the OpenAIRE graph. So if you are interested to this type of information, you can also use that API as well. And while waiting for the endpoints for the relationships to be released for the main OpenAIRE Graph API, you can use the Graph API combined with the Scholar Explorer 1 and retrieve everything that would be useful for your own analysis. To design this API, we followed a relatively open approach. We have designed a beta testing process. In late June 2024, we had some internal testing using some volunteers from OpenAIRE to use the API and provide initial feedback. In early July 2024, we had an open call for testers. And in mid-July 2024, we gave them access to the beta API until late August so that they can test the new API, try to perform queries and things like that. And during the beta testing phase, we asked them to provide any feedback that they had during experimentation. There was a dedicated form to collect bugs, to collect feature requests and things like that. But also after the end of the beta testing, we asked for additional feedback with the final questionnaire that asked beta testers to provide particular input of interest that we would like to know about. And in a previous graph community call, we had presented the results of the beta testing, and we had invited also to that community call the beta testers to better understand about some of their requests. We had a very quick discussion on that. And after this, the new APIs were released during the previous weeks. So after the beta testing, we have tried to incorporate the feedback we collected, tried to improve, to fix a couple of bugs and implement a couple of additional features. And then after these modifications were completed, the new API was released, and you can now find it through the OpenAIRE Graph web page or the documentation page. In general, based on the feedback that we got from the beta testers, in most cases, the results were satisfying for them, and the documentation in some cases should be improved, and we tried to focus on that in the meantime. But in general, it was evident that most of the beta testers that completed the questionnaire were satisfied by the new APIs. We had also, at that point, we didn't have the cursor pagination ready, and this was something that they had prioritized, and this is why we have released it after that. But also the relationship retrieval seemed to be important, and this is why we plan to release it very soon. And finally, if you or anyone else from your organization would like to play with this new API, it is very easy. You can follow the link here that redirects to the Swagger UI that you can use for experimentation, but also to get a glimpse on the implemented endpoints and what they support. Of course, you can find the links also if you follow them from the main website and the main documentation website. But the most important is that in early April, if I'm not mistaken, we plan to have an upcoming webinar to present the API and some basic examples of its usage to everyone. So stay tuned and follow OpenAIRE on the social media and the mailing list, and you will be informed about that. And with that said, you can find here some useful links for further investigation or further communication. And I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions
great.
that you may have.
Thank you very much, Thanasis. Okay, it was a very good presentation, quite explicit. There is already a question for you, okay, from Milan, I think. There are some questions here in the chat. When you were talking, there was people putting questions, but they are not, I think it's only one for you, but please check it. And I will start giving some information about Laura questions. Then Leonidas can also reply to Jen. Feel free to put other questions. So we have some time. We have nine minutes. So about Laura, our good friend Laura Bonara from Spain. Two questions. One is related with the logo. So now we only have this logo, so you just download we have 4 formats for the logo, and you put it wherever you want to put it. With and all the interactions that you do between the logo and other things. So feel free, if you respect the original image, it's okay for us. What we are planning, but we put this already available because we wanted to put people using the new badge. We are going to do a kind of widget that people can download a single badge, or the badge with information, with the ID from OpenAIRE and the level of compliance, some additional information that people can place the widget, and that if they click in the badge that you put it using that widget, you just be pointed to the data source entry in OpenAIRE. So for those that know, for example, what the redata have available something like what Redata is exposing in the also from the widgets. We want to do something, but we just have this new logo, and hopefully we for during this year we put available the widgets. The other question about the guidelines, and a really important question about the guidelines, for sure. Maybe not the community call from April, but for sure the community call from May. We are going to anticipate some things in the guidelines. So this is something that we are already becoming late for the new updates of the guidelines, but you are aware of the plans. We are short-term changes, so integrating new metadata schema from dataset and some changes to the guidelines to put available a new version. But then there are things more invasive for the future that we also need to align with other things. So there is an international working group now. The OpenAIRE guidelines are, let's say, globally managed by an international working group that contribute with content. We have some short term changes to do and to put available. And for a version of the guidelines that is integrating data archive guidelines and publication guidelines, and we merge it and we put available. And then later this year we will do more things. We need to put some pressure in our selves, and then Pedro and Leonidas have this are in charge of this, so we need to work a bit. For sure, until June we are going to have novelties because we want to present some changes in open repositories and to discuss it with the community in the open repositories in mid-June. So for sure until there we have novelties. And for sure in the community call of May or June, and we discuss it. Okay. Leonidas, do you want, or Thanasis, do you want to
Yes.
reply? Yes.
Let me reply to Jean regarding the SNSF. Currently, we are working on incorporating the relations of datasets to projects, which is information that they have recently provided. Regarding the project information, we regularly aggregate them, and as far as we have been informed by the team behind the funders aggregation, they do not update the project metadata records regularly, usually every 6 months. So this might be an issue from their side.
Yeah, it's important to highlight that there are several differences between the different funders, the way that we collect data from the. Unfortunately, there is no common. So, of course, we would like to have updates.
Every funder is different.
Yes, we would like to have updates every month, but it's not or fully synchronized with the APIs. But this is not the case for all. So. The colleagues from the funder aggregation, they just clarify in a parallel chat that together with Leonidas we are managing that they do it every 6 months. So which is not so bad compared with others, but it's not great because these slight delays can occur, and then you want to link a publication to a specific project that is a recent project and you don't have the metadata information. But let's try to put this information more clear maybe in the future. Thanasis, do you want to provide any reply to Milan?
Yes, I think I also replied in the chat that
Sure.
it is accurate that cross-reference data site metadata are included in the OpenAIRE graph. Yeah, so I think this was the question.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Question is also maybe because we have problems with these hybrid journals, we don't have enough information about the APCs or vouchers. Do you have some this kind of information inside OpenAIRE graph? because for monitoring is very important, and
Yeah.
OpenAPC is
Regarding
not enough because some organizations use this OpenAPC and send data to OpenAPC, but almost a lot of organizations don't send this information.
Yes, thank you, Milan. It's true. Currently, we get APC's information from OpenAPC, and we urge and also tell every institutional organization to try to put them at OpenAPC, because we have an automated process, and we aggregate metadata regularly from there.
But it's important to
we
state
don't
that
have,
we only collect information about APCs from OpenAPC, not from any other source.
yes,
If you have
exactly.
any suggestion, feel free to send us, but it's not so in our short-term plans to integrate information from different sources. This information is properly curated. We also did a beta test in OpenAIRE Nexus together with our colleagues from Bielefeld University, and this is why the information is properly integrated in the graph. But Leonidas, we don't have any other plan to integrate any other
Currently not.
source.
Currently
But
not.
feel free, Milan, to suggest something.
Yes, of course.
This is important. It should be in our radar, but it's not. So we need to integrate sources that are proper managed and curated
We prefer, yes, we prefer,
and community driven and community
exactly.
curated, let's say.
Yeah, because they get the lists from a sample doc file that they send to the institutions, and then we aggregate the metadata via standards, via APIs, and this is very convenient in order to present the respective information correctly. But we're open to any suggestions.
In our country, we integrate this with Excel files. Every institution give us Excel, and we aggregate with COBIS ID, because we have cataloged information system, and it is hard to find things, especially things if someone use a voucher for this transfer.
It's already good if you can collect that information and properly organize it in Excel files, because the case is that people cannot organize properly, even internally in the institutions. It's quite hard to organize this. So
and if you have it at the country level, of course we can discuss also to get them even in Excel files and to do something, because at the country level it's important. We could not, yes.
At some point, maybe.
Now our country trillion, and we collect from different sources. Also, we try also OpenAIRE Graph, but we haven't enough information. Also we tried OpenALEX. We don't use OpenAPC because our institutions don't use this OpenAPC and send data to OpenAPC, and I hope that it will be better in the future. But of course, maybe we will share some information, because we wish to improve our processes also in our repositories, because a lot of sources is not in our repositories, and we wish to include these sources. So also we use also sources where they export DCAT and this per data point metadata.
Thank you for. I think it's so we will put in our radar a community call. Be discussing this topic of the APCs and how can repositories expose this information. How can OpenAIRE consume what is OpenAIRE providing. So it's a good suggestion, Milan, because this is an important. I think in the coming community calls, let's promote one community call with this.
And we
also
we also have on our radar the DCAT metadata schema in the near future for the OpenAIRE guidelines.
Yes, so the changes, I didn't mention that, but I can mention about the short term is of course, these things related with the new schema from dataset and the alignment between the different versions of our guidelines, but also in our radar is also how we are going to integrate also with the DCAT, because this is being critical. So when we are aware of that, so we know how in terms of fairness and other developments, DCAT is so. But
also
we
I
need to
think
discuss it.
important is fair data point also. It's based on DCAT, but it's a graph. It's
Yes.
it's much better to include this into your OpenAIRE graph because it's very good source. Of course, OpenAIRE graph is very good source.
Yes, and we are in the Open Science Trails project, OS Trails project. We are working with this alignment. Okay, thank you very much. Great. So we have at least from the contributions from the participants, we already scheduled 2 topics for the upcoming community calls. One about the guidelines that it was in our radar, and one about APC's information that was not in our radar in terms of the upcoming community calls, but I think maybe it's important. Let's see our agenda. And Jean Blaise, let's see if we have some disalignment between the information between the funder aggregation team and the SNSF. Let's see what is so, and we will, if we have something different, we talk with you via email. Okay, Jean? Okay, hope this session was useful. So we, at the end, we provide 4 topics, information about the new badge, the aggregation history, the importance of the metadata quality that you are providing to benefit from the added value services from OpenAIRE, and these recent novelties from the OpenAIRE Graph APIs. And thank you to Leonidas, Thanasis. So Andre, should we close? Do you want to mention when is the upcoming community call? So the upcoming community call will be
on April 2.
April.
So
Okay. April, so
Second
it's
of
the
April.
first. Yes, the first Wednesday of April is April 2. So see you in 1 month. Thank you very much for joining. Hope it was useful. So hope these links that you see in the chat are useful also, and the presentation. Okay.